Hello everyone, today we're going to be working on graphing linear equations. So our goals for today are to be able to graph a linear equation from slope-intercept form, write a linear equation when given the slope and y-intercept, and identify the slope, y-intercept, and x-intercept in a graph. So when we graph functions, we use the letters m and b to identify the slope and y-intercept of a graph. We use m for the slope and b for the y-intercept. These letters help us write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form. And hopefully this equation is familiar to you, y equals mx plus b. And remember, m is the slope of the line, and b is the y-intercept. It's really important to remember which is which. So if we look at these two equations we have on the right there, we want to identify m and b, the slope and the y-intercept. So for letter A, we've got y equals 3x minus 1. So remember, m, the slope, is always the number right next to the x, as long as y is by itself. You have to get y by itself first if you're going to find m and b. So that means that m is going to be 3 because it's the number next to the x, and that b is going to equal negative 4 because it's the number by itself. Alright, and then in the second one, we again already have y by itself, so we can just go ahead and take the number next to the x for m. So m is negative 1/2. And then the number by itself is our b, so b equals 7. So now once we know how to identify m and b, we can use just those two things to graph a line. So remember first, before we're going to use what we know about slope-intercept form, we have to make sure y is by itself. In letter A, y is by itself, so we're good to go. So m is the number next to x, so negative 3, and b is 2. Now when you're graphing a line, you always want to first plot b on the y-axis, because it's the y-intercept, so it goes on the y-axis. So b is 2, so I'm going to put a dot right on the y-axis on 2. And then we use the slope to get another point. Now, we always want slope to be written as a fraction, and in this case, it's negative 3, so we can make that negative 3 over 1. The top number tells us how far up or down to count. The bottom number tells us how far to the right we're going to count. So we have negative 3, so that means I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I've got a 1 on the bottom, so that means I'm going 1 to the right. So down 1, 2, 3, and 1 to the right. Getting 3 points is usually good, and then you can draw a line to connect them. Make sure you put arrows at the end because lines go on forever. Alright, now looking at letter B, this one, y is not by itself, so we have to get it by itself. The first thing I'm going to do is move over the 2x, so subtract 2x from both sides. So we have negative y equals negative 2x plus 4. To get rid of that negative sign, we just divide both sides by negative 1. So y equals 2x minus 4. Now that y is by itself, we can get m and b. So m is 2, and b is negative 4. I'm going to start by plotting b on the y-axis, so I need to put a dot on negative 4 right here. Then our slope, to make it a fraction, I can make it 2 over 1. Since it's a positive number this time, I'm going to count up. So up 1, 2, over 1, up 2, over 1, and now I can connect my dots. Oops, that was a pretty bad line, so let me redo that. There we go. You always want to make sure that your line goes through your dots. And again, never forget to have arrows at the ends. Alright, so we can flip over to the next page here. So now that we know how to use slope-intercept form to make a graph, we also want to be able to write equations in slope-intercept form. So let's remember that y equals mx plus b is slope-intercept form. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. So letter A, it says the slope is 1/3 and the y-intercept is -2. So that means that m is 1/3 and b is -2. So we just substitute that into our equation. Y equals 1/3 x minus 2. Super easy. Now for letter B, this time it tells us the slope and a point that's on the line. Now we always want to remember that points are written as x comma y. So we can still use slope-intercept form and plug in all the information we get in B. So in this time, we've got m, which is 5, x, which is 2, and y, which is -3. So that means we're going to have to find B. So if I plug it in, I've got y equals, I'm going to plug it in. So I want to replace the y with -3, and again, that's coming from over here. So -3 equals 5, and then since x is over here is 2, that means I'm going to put in a 2 here, then plus b, because we don't know what that is. We're trying to find it so we can write the equation. So -3 equals 10 plus b. And to get b by itself, I just subtract 10 from both sides. So -13 equals b. So that means now I've got m and b, so I can write the equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals 5x, 5 came from up here, plus, and actually that needs to be a minus because it's -13, which came from over here where we solve for b. Alright. Then the last thing we want to do is write the equation when we're looking at a graph. So we're going to need to find the slope and y-intercept are really important. We're also going to find the x-intercept just to get some practice with that because it's going to be important in later units. So to find the slope, we need to first find 2 points on the line. On this line, we have this point right here and this one right here. So we just need to count. So to go down to this point, I have to go down 1. So that's a -1. And then we have to go over 2. And again, just like when we put the points on the graph, now they're on the graph and we just have to count to see how far away they are. So we had to go down 1 and over 2. So that means the slope is -1/2. The x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis, and it tells us here which axis is which in case you forget. And the x-intercept is right here, so the x-intercept would be 9. And then the y-intercept was back up here, and that was 5. Now with all this information, the only parts we need for writing the equation are the slope and y-intercept. So y equals -1/2 x plus 5. And let's take a look at letter B. We've got we want to find our slope first. So we have these 2 points. Now to get from this point to this point, I have to go up. So let's see how many places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's plus 4. And then we have to go 1, 2, 3. So plus 3. It's always the rise, so how far up you go, over how far to the right you had to go. So 4/3. The x-intercept is up here where it crosses the x-axis, and that is 6. The y-intercept was back down here, which is -8. So we can write our equation as y equals 4/3 x minus 8. Alright, and then if you look below, there is one more example. I'm going to leave that for you to try on your own, and then we will go over it in class. But make sure that you try it first, and then we'll go over it. Good luck!